Hello everyone, I'm Lady Rose of Goddess Garage. Thank you so much for joining me. Today I'm talking about tarot and doing tarot readings and what to kind of look for and how to interpret some of these things based off of your intuitive feeling. It's always good to know the meanings of the cards for a fallback position. But also too, there's something else that we need to look for in tarot readings. And one of the main things we look for are patterns, because they often mean something. Now, as human beings, we can detect patterns very easily. There's two things that we see almost automatically in something, and that is faces. We recognize faces even in the weirdest of things like potatoes and pieces of toast and things like that. But we also recognize patterns and we respond to patterns. So we will recognize patterns visually. We recognize patterns through hearing. That's why we like songs that have the same kind of rhythm and melodies and things like that. We're attracted to that. So like I said, I wanted to talk about some of the patterns that you can see in tarot and what they kind of tend to mean. Now I'm going to go through the Major Arcana a little bit. I'm not going to go card by card. I've already done that. So if you want to know the meanings of those cards, please see my other videos under the Lessons of Tarot playlist. But I wanted to kind of go through the Major Arcana a little bit to point out the journey. And I'm going to point out the journey of each suit as well. So the Major Arcana can tend to be events that are out of your control. They're big life lessons. A lot of times if you see the same Major Arcana card, it means that's a lesson you need to see or need to do or learn or go through or experience fairly soon. Now, by that I mean, like, if you get repeated readings, or say you pull a card a day or a card a week or a month for yourself, I get clients coming in all the time that say, oh yes, I always get the Chariot, or I always get the Tower card, or I always get this card or that card. And when I hear that, that's a pattern in of itself. You're not going to get like 10 Chariots in one spread, obviously, but over the course of time, if you notice you're constantly getting Chariots, there's something there that you need to learn. There's a lesson. And the more often it occurs, the closer that lesson needs to happen. If it's like your first time seeing it, okay, maybe you can dodge out of it. But if it's like your 6th time, 7th time seeing it, it means you need to address this particular lesson right now, kind of thing. So, like I said, they're big significant events. They're big life lessons. They often are about fate, because again, they tend to be things that are slightly out of our control. Like, you know, the Tower card, some of these destructive cards can be something tragic that happens in your life. It's not like you brought it on yourself. And it's just something that, you know, fell into your life, but it's something you need to learn from. And they're about growing into self-awareness and spiritual growth and awakenings and things like that. So the first part of the journey starts with the Fool, because we're all the Fool, and that's phase 1, and that's cards, Major Arcana cards 1 to 7. And the 1 to 7 in the Major Arcana tends to address our conscious side, because it's the more immature side. It's about outer problems, it's about challenges, dealing with authority, maturing, growing up, religion, your choices there, your views, your spiritual views, your views about relationships, things like that. And it's all sort of about growing up, those first 7 steps, so to speak. Now, phase 2 of the Major Arcana journey is card 8 to 14. And I highly recommend that you, if you have a space big enough or a table long enough, that you lay out the cards all in order and kind of see where the waves happen. And the ups and the downs and the dark side and the light side and all that kind of stuff. I do that all the time in classes, and it's amazing the things you see when you see all the cards laid out and the story that they tell. So like I said, phase 2 is the cards 8 to 14, and that's dealing with more of our subconscious mind. So because we've matured a little bit now, within the Major Arcana story, now we're ready to tackle inward things and understanding who we are, really asking those deep life questions. That's where we do a lot of our shadow work, dealing with ego and change. That's a big thing for a lot of people. Dealing with change, knowing how to change maturely, and all that kind of stuff. And tests, because there's a lot more challenges and tests in this one. And the workings of the soul, it can touch on past lives as well. And then the final phase is cards 15 to 21. So that's the final stage. That's where the spiritual awakening comes. You've kind of worked with the conscious side of yourself and the subconscious side, and now is the time to bring the two together and unite them and meld them together. So it's about inner and outer life, like I said, coming together. It's about balance and harmony, spiritual awakening, healing, freedom, opportunity for further growth, and liberation. So, that's, the world is kind of the freedom thing, right? You're good to go. So that's the Major Arcana. Now, the Minor Arcana, as you may or may not already know, is more about your physical realm. It touches on very specific things like family, work, education, relationships, love, health, finances, the everyday stuff that you kind of have to do in this world. The Major Arcana tends to touch more on the spiritual side of yourself. Both sides are obviously necessary in order to function well in this life. But each Minor Arcana also touches on different things. As we talked about in the suits, the video on the suits, I talked about what each suit kind of touches on. They each sort of have a topic that they like to talk about. Like, Pentacles tends to talk about finances, money. It can talk about jobs as well. Wands also talk about careers as well. Pentacles tend to talk about jobs and Wands tend to talk about careers. There's a difference, right? But both are important because we need money to live. So the second pattern that we kind of look for, like when you're looking for patterns, notice whether there's a lot of Major Arcana cards. Notice whether your client says, I always get this card. Because, then you follow that up with, well, how often would you say you've gotten this card in the last while? And then you kind of know how close this major lesson is, or, that this is a card that we really need to focus on. So notice if there's a lot of Major Arcana cards, because then there's a lot of transitions that are maybe coming up for this person, and they really need to do a lot of sort of maturing, sort of spiritual work, shadow work, that sort of thing. And if there's a lot of Minor Arcana cards, so Minor Arcana cards are, like I said, the everyday things. They're a little more easy. That's really bad grammar. They're a little easier to change. So if you want to change a card, you can, and it's much easier to do it with a Minor Arcana because you can, change your thoughts, change the way you do this, go down a different path. It's a lot easier to change their paths than it is Major Arcana. Now, Major Arcana, you can change the path for a little while. But if, say, you're getting the Empress, and you really need to, the Empress can sometimes be about decluttering. So let's say this one is about decluttering, right? So you say you keep getting the Empress, you can avoid it for so long, but then it becomes a thing that you have to face eventually. So you can't push off Major Arcana cards as easily. They keep coming back. That's why you get them repeating. Like, the last 5 readings, I've always got the Empress. Why do I have the Empress? It might be, you gotta declutter. Maybe you're getting close to that stage of hoarding, that sort of thing. So the other pattern is elements, watching for what elements are in the spread as well. So you get a lot of the elements from the suits. So wands are about fire, pentacles are earth element, swords are about air, and cups are about water. So watch and see which element is coming up. And watch, like, the suits, obviously, because they have elements behind them. But watch the Major Arcana cards that are maybe in there. Because there might be some fire, like temperance, or some water elements coming through. And it depends on your tarot deck. Maybe, maybe the Empress looks really windy and there's air and wind involved with that particular card in this particular tarot deck. So it's always good to get to know your tarot deck so you know what to look for. Because sometimes each different tarot outside of the Rider-Waite-Smith has a slight deviation. And that's okay, because every tarot deck kind of has its own personality too. So patterns with elements, like let's say they have a lot of wands, maybe, are you thinking about changing careers? Is this a big thing for you? Is this, are you, feeling like you're not having passion in your life? And I don't mean necessarily sexual passion. I mean passion like love of life, and I love what I do, and I want to chase my passions for, whatever I'm crafting and that sort of thing. So when you see a lot of those, that could be some of the things. It could also touch on health. Have you been paying attention to health? Maybe you need to pay attention to your health when you have a lot of wands. When you have a lot of swords, for instance, it could be, well, I find I get a lot of swords, quite honestly, when I have a lawyer in front of me. And often I don't know the profession of my client when they walk in the door until, they've come for a while and they're a regular now. But I have every time a lawyer, police officer, or someone working in the prison system. I'm in Kingston, Ontario, so we have a lot of prisons here. So I sometimes get some of the people that work at prisons, and they always seem to get a lot of swords, because swords have to do with legal stuff, right? So I've always nailed it every time when it's like, and sometimes I get a lot of swords and I know it's not that, but I know when it is, and it's kind of funny how it works out. But swords can also be, I get a lot of swords when I get a student in front of me as well, because we have 3 college universities here in Kingston. We have RMC, we have St. Lawrence, and we have Queen's University. So there's a lot of student bodies here. So when I get a student in front of me, sometimes I'll get a lot of swords then, especially around exam time, because they're often worried, right? So they're really thinking a lot. They're putting a lot into their heads, trying to cram all that information in there. So swords tend to show up when a student is in front of me around exam time. But swords can also be, if you're getting a lot of swords, it could be, are you using your voice? Are you being suppressed in your ability to say what you need to say? Is there something that you're needing to get out? Or it could also be, are you talking too much? Are you too much of a chatty Cathy? And do you maybe need to watch how much you talk? Are you revealing too much? Are you just saying so much out there that everybody knows everything about you right from the get-go, kind of thing? So, it's usually about voice, which then comes to thoughts and words and that sort of thing. With pentacles, if you notice a lot of pentacles and maybe you've got some earth-based major arcana, then they're worried about stability, because earth brings that stability, right? So often they're worried about, am I going to have a job? Am I going to be laid off? I don't have enough money in my life. I need more money in my life. Things might be rocky in the financial area right now. Or maybe there's something they need to do, that sort of thing. So you address those things. They're looking often for stability. Now I'm going to pair something in with that pentacle to really sort of clarify whether it is stability they're looking for. But we're going to talk about, so we've done wands, we've done swords, we're talking about cups. So cups, again, that's all water, right? So that's about dreams, emotions. It can be a message of pay attention to your dreams, like literally pay attention to what you're dreaming about every night. Try to remember your dreams. Perhaps you need to dream journal for the next little while. And I'll talk more about dreams later, because I could go on about that. Or it's, often cups are about relationships, and it can be any kind of relationship. It's not always like a lover, a husband, wife kind of relationship, a romantic relationship. I mean, a lot of times it is, but it can also be a relationship between you and a sibling, you and a parent, you and your child, whatever it might be. It's usually connections in that way. It's not so much you and your boss or anything like that, but connections that, you know, where you're the parent or you're the child or you're the sibling or the lover of, you know, that sort of thing. So it's more, those are emotionally invested type relationships. So that's where cups kind of comes in and addresses those things. It can also be about your emotions overall. Have you been feeling scattered? Have you been feeling out of control? Have you been feeling overwhelmed? You know, maybe there's a message here to kind of show you a way of getting yourself back on track or out of the rut or whatever it might be. Now back to the pentacles, which is the earth element. So the other pattern you want to look for are the numbers. What numbers are repeated? Because numbers are very important. And for the earth element, when they get a lot of pentacles and they also have a lot of fours, then you know stability is really a big thing that is needed in their life. Perhaps they've been burning the candle at both ends. Maybe they have been really flighty and scattered, and they're, you know, worried deeply about something to the point of distraction. Perhaps there's an addiction involved, that sort of thing. If you see the devil and a lot of pentacles and fours, then yes, you're definitely talking about an addiction. And it might not be their addiction. It could be an addiction that they're worried about for someone that's somehow related to them, like a child or a spouse or a parent or a sibling. Again, you know, things you're connected to, because you're not really worrying about your boss so much. And whether he has an addiction or whatever. But patterns of numbers are very important. And I'm going to, so when you see repeated numbers, you know, take a look at that and see what each of those numbers means. So I'm going to do a little diagram here of what the numbers mean, generally speaking, for each suit. And then you apply the suit to that number. So you're in the theme of, let's say, you know, health when you've got wands coming up, or you're in the theme of, you know, job and finances when pentacles show up. So here's my little drawing, and the suits are like the story of climbing a mountain. So I really like this because it's a visual thing, and I find a lot of people learn better with visual aids, that sort of thing. So you can draw this yourself too. Follow along with me. So aces start out with you in your house, and it's a doorway, right? So you walk through the doorway of your house and you come out into your yard and you see this big giant mountain, and you want to know what's on the other side of the giant mountain. So that's 2. Now it's showing up backwards in the film, but you'll understand. So this is you here at the bottom of the mountain making the decision to climb the mountain, because that's what 2s are about, generally speaking. Yes, they can be about balance, but a lot of times they're about choices. So you make the decision, and 3, see, you haven't actually gone to the mountain yet. You haven't climbed it yet. 3 is that initial energy to make that first step up the mountain. So that's you climbing the mountain. Look at you raising your hands. You're ready to go. Yes, my stick figures are quite nice. So then you're climbing up this steep mountain and you get to the 4. So 4 is about stability, right? And I always say you can't level up in life until you see a 4. 4s are also about rest. So keep that in mind. So this guy here, this is you sitting by a tree. You got a nice little picnic here. There's a little bit of a ledge here, so it's a little more stable. You're not feeling like you're rolling down a hill when you're sitting there. And you're just enjoying a nice little picnic and having maybe a little nap under the tree. That's what 4s are about. That stability of the ledge where you can put out your picnic and you can have a little nap, so you rest because you're about to level up, see? Okay, so then we get to 5. I forgot to put 5 here, so I'll put 5 here so that you guys know. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, got them numbered. So this is 5. This is you. You're looking a little weary. Your head's down. 5s are always, they always look bad in tarot, but they're always about, you're just about to hit the top of the mountain. Yay, right? So 5s are that, oh my gosh, you know, I got to get that second wind. Shouldn't have eaten that second sandwich. It's getting to me climbing this mountain. But 5s are always like that, trudging that last little bit where you're going to hit the top of the mountain. Always from a not so great place to a much better place. You're on top of the world here when you get here. So that's what a 5 is about. It's that transition. But they're always hard transitions. They're transitions with bumps, okay? So this is like you said, like I said, you got to get that second wind. Now 6 is not, like 5 actually ends on the summit. 6 is starting to come down the hill. So this is the easier part of the climb. You're not climbing anymore, you're just coming down. So 6, and that's why you're celebrating, because 6 is a beautiful number. 6 is a number that it's, if you multiply 3 or add 3, it still comes out to 6. It's always the sum of 6. So it's kind of interesting, and it's a double sort of magical number, because 3 is considered a magical number. 6 is double that, right? And 6s are all about that harmony coming into your life. Life is easy, life is grand, it's about love being here. So and if it was raining over here, it's definitely sunny here. So 6 is coming down that mountain and feeling, oh my gosh, look at this mountain right in front of me. All I have to do is go to the bottom, and it'll be easy, easy, easy. 6s are also about the same number as the lovers. And the same, 6 is the number of Venus as well. So this is all about that love. You know, your life is so good. You're feeling good when 6s come in. So that's how you remember 6s. 6s are good. And, you know, they can bring a lot of harmony and sort of alignment coming into your life, okay? Then you hit 7. So 7, see, you can see this guy here. He's looking a little, oh no. 7s are usually about disappointment or difficulties. So there's 2 7s that look good and 2 7s that don't look good. And the 2 7s that look good can mimic an 8 in a way, but you have to be very careful. So it's a difficult thing to do. Like one is the 7 of Cups, for instance. You've got 7 cups. There's all beautiful things in each cup, and you're supposed to choose one. So it's sort of like an 8 in that way, but it's going to be a hard choice, and you really have to think about it. You have to climb over these rocks and these thorn bushes that I've drawn. That's what these are, folks. Rocks and thorn bushes. And your little guy, you here are like, oh, you may have just been pricked by a little thorn, and you know, you're having to get through all of this. So that's what 7s are about. And maybe you fall down and skin your knee or something, so you're a little disappointed about that. So they tend to be about difficult things, or about disappointment in some way, because the 7 of Wands is defensive. Usually you feel like you're on the defensive for some reason, as an example, right? But then you get through it and you go to 8, and you see here this guy 8. So you see it's kind of branching off here. And I didn't bother drawing in what the opportunities were, but all these paths look kind of cool. Okay, so which one am I going to draw or walk on? Because there are opportunities that just open up in front of you. That's what 8s are about. And they're not about hard decisions. Yes, he's got question marks like, which way should I go? But all of them go to good places. So, and it's about opportunities opening up for you and that sort of thing. So that's what 8s are about. That opportunity. I could take a different path if I want to. So 9, this is 9 over here. And he kind of, he's kind of lopsided, but he's happy. He's completed the mountain. He sees what's on the other side of the mountain. He's experienced the mountain. So that's great. It's done. You're done. You did it. Yay. Now 10s, here's 10s. So I've got you. So at 10, it's about completing the task that you set yourself, or the goal, and you get a gift with a 10. 10s always bring gifts, which is beautiful. So the 10 that you found was, you came over here and you saw that there was a big 5-star hotel, chateau kind of thing. And this is you in the hot tub, soaking your sore muscles after all that mountain climbing, with a glass of wine, enjoying the rest of your day. I don't know how long it took you to climb this mountain. But either way, you're staying here, and it's comped, by the way. Yep, it's comped. That's what a 10 is. So that, I hope, helps you sort of see the story of each suit and what they're kind of about and what kind of energy is about each one. And then you can apply it, whether it's swords or pentacles or cups or wands or whatever kind of thing. So that's just a little video about how to look for those patterns and what some of these patterns can mean. So the next time you do a spread for yourself, look for those patterns and see what there is. Thank you for joining me. I hope this helps. If it does, please like this video. Please subscribe to my channel and click the notification bell so that you'll know when other tarot and other videos from me go up. I appreciate all the support and love that you guys give me. I love doing these videos and I'd love to keep doing them. So I would appreciate all the love you can give me by subscribing. Take care. Have a great day. Bye.